Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to Fire Emblem Heroes. I've done a top 5 most difficult video for Grand and Bound hero battles. The only one that's left is of course Legendary hero battles, so in this video I'm going to be counting down my top 5 Legendary hero battles that I had the most trouble with. Remember that this list is just my opinion, so it'll probably be different from yours. Also keep in mind that the list is based on how hard the Legendary hero battle was on release. Alright, at number 5, it was a toss-up between Lyn and Rio Ma, but I chose Rio Ma. His map isn't that difficult if you use like actual invested heroes, but trying to do it free-to-play style is a total nightmare compared to Lyn's. There's a lot of reasons why his map is so difficult to do with free-play units. First, you have Rio Ma, who has bonker stats, insane speed with like 100 plus physical and magical bulk. It's so hard to kill him without a really good bow unit. Then on the flip side, it's hard to bait him as well because of his ridiculous offenses combined with the fact that he has Glimmer all charged up out of the get-go. Reason number 2 is just how the map is designed. In order to beat most legendary hero battles with free-to-play units only, it usually requires some type of strategy that exploits a choke point. Rio Ma's map doesn't really have any exploitable choke points. You can use the top right section of the map as a choke to a certain extent, but eventually the ranged foes will be able to attack over the wall. Also, there's enemies that spawn behind you and enemies coming from the left. It's just so hard to deal with all of that while trying to keep the unit holding the choke alive. Don't forget about those 2 lance fighters that pop out from the corners of the map. Those guys are extremely annoying. They're just so tanky and they deal a bunch of damage with their specials. So yeah, Rio Ma is number 5 with Lyn right underneath. Number 4 is Female Robin or Grima. You can argue that this should be higher on the list, but I think number 4 is a good spot for it. The layout of the map I think is more advantageous for the player compared to Rio Ma's, but Robin's map feels like the enemies swarm you quicker, if you know what I mean. All the enemies start at the top, there's cavalier foes that quickly close the gap, and the reinforcements start coming from the side, the bottom, and just all over the place. It's really easy to get swarmed quickly and just lose the battle. I mentioned earlier how legendary hero battles require a choke point to beat with free-to-play units. Robin's map does have a choke point, but it's not exactly the best choke since it requires gravity plus in order to hold all the enemies in place. This map does have more exploitable spots compared to Rio Ma's. I would say that Robin's map is a little harder to defeat enemies in time before getting swarmed if you don't have access to gravity plus. Robin herself is pretty annoying to deal with as well. She almost has the same amount of bulk as Rio Ma, but she's colorless, so she's a little bit harder to deal with. She's also a dragon that has adaptive damage, and she has bonfire all charged up, so she's not someone that can be baited that easily. Number 3 is Tiki. There's nothing more I hate than having to deal with a bunch of cavalier and ranged foes. They are so difficult to handle with just free-to-play units. Tiki's map is just filled with those type of foes. The map however does have a design that allows the player to be able to take care of the enemies before getting overwhelmed. You know, there's the wall on the right that can be used to bait the ranged foes. The 2 trenches on the map delay some movement from the cavalier foes, and the best part is that the reinforcement spawns are at the top of the map. They aren't like on the side or behind you, so that's great. So overall the map is alright, it's okay, but the main problem is Tiki herself. She's an absolute monster. She's so difficult to fight without dying. She's tanky and does a lot of damage on both phases. The only way most players could even deal with her is by using a dazzling staff unit. So yeah, Tiki's map, the map itself is not that hard, but Tiki herself is the main problem. Number 2, I have Marth. His map is like the opposite of Tiki's. Marth himself isn't the problem, it's the map and the reinforcements, which is kind of fitting for Marth if you understand the lore behind his character. Anyways, you don't get enough room to move around, and if you don't think that's bad enough, there's reinforcements that spawn behind your units while you're stuck in this tight little area. And these reinforcements aren't easy to deal with either. They're super tanky and it's really difficult to defeat the first 3 reinforcement foes that spawn at the bottom in a single turn. Also, don't forget about the Lance Knight in the middle that slowly creeps towards your team. He's pretty tough to defeat as well. That's pretty much all I have to say about Marth. Basically, the map layout is the problem. Your team spawns in a tight little area, it's hard to maneuver around, and the reinforcements are hard to deal with. Number 1 is Hrid's map for sure. There's a lot of annoying things in this map. This map is just filled with debuffs. There's an annoying staff foe, there's one of those slow creeping armor guys, reinforcements spawn at the top, the side, the bottom, Hrid hits like a truck, a wind sweep dagger foe, a random dragon that intelligence systems always likes to randomly add in legendary hero battles, and I remember that there's an axe flyer that always manages to 1-round KO my sword unit. Hrid's map has it all. Surprisingly, you do get about 12 blocks of space at the bottom, so thank you IS for giving us some space to work with, but the reality is that you can only safely use like half of that during the fight. Honestly, Hrid is probably like 60% or 70% of the problem. He's a total unit. It's hard to initiate and bait him because of his kit. His weapon allows him to double and he has distant counter, so mages are susceptible to getting one-shotted by his moonbow on the counterattack. Plus he has panic ploy seal along with his 81 HP, so it's difficult to position your units correctly without getting ployed. Like when I'm playing his map, I feel like the whole time I'm trying to find an opening to take out Hrid because he's the most threatening foe on the map, right? But it's really hard to find that opening with everything else going on. Bottom line is that if you don't have the right strong units, then you will find yourself getting overwhelmed quite easily on this map. Alright, so that's going to be my top 5 most difficult legendary hero battles in Fire Emblem Heroes. Do you guys agree with my list? If not, then let me know what your top 5 is in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.